This is the story of a man who is accused of killing many women. His girlfriend is shocked to learn this, and the people close to him try to save him. Let's see if they are able to save him. Welcome to Movie Recall. In today's video, we will be going through the 2019 movie Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. It's time to recall. Let's get started. Turn on subtitles and spoilers ahead. The movie starts and we see a woman sitting in a meeting room of a prison. A man named Ted comes to see her, and the woman named Liz asks him if he remembers the time they met for the first time. We are taken back to 1969, several years ago. We see that in 1969, single mother Liz Kendall is at a college bar with her friend Joanna. As she sits there, she tells her friend that she does not mind being in a college bar, but as a single mother, she does not really fit in. She meets a charming stranger by the name of Theodore Ted Robert Bundy, who has been sitting at a distance from her and has been continuously smiling. He puts a quarter in the jukebox to play Crimson and Clover so that the two may share their first dance. Liz goes home with Ted, and when Liz's daughter's babysitter is leaving, the situation becomes a little awkward, and Liz tells Ted that she understands if he does not want to come in because of the baby. He tells her that he would love to come in, and they sleep together platonically. In the morning, Liz wakes up and sees Ted isn't next to her, and she can't find her daughter Molly until she walks into the kitchen to find Ted making breakfast with Molly sitting near him. They then spend many years together and live like a happy family, as we see footage of Ted and Liz being together and raising Molly. After spending a lot of time together and making many beautiful memories, their lives take a drastic turn. As we see that footage, we hear a news report on a series of grisly murders involving numerous female victims. Witnesses identified the suspect as a man faking a broken arm and a cast who lured women in Lake Sammamish to his car asking for help loading a boat into his car. A sketch has also been released of a man looking like Ted. As Ted drives down the street in the middle of the night, a policeman pulls him over. Ted is actually a very nice and charming person. He tells the police officer in a very polite manner that he is a law student in Utah and he is on his way back home and his girlfriend is waiting for him. The police officer, however, does not take kindly to him and right away arrests him for running over several stop signs. He is being named as a suspect in the attempted kidnapping of a woman named Carol Duranch. Ted gets a lawyer, John O'Connell, who gets his bail reduced so he can be back with Liz soon. When he does see Liz again, she is angry with him for his arrest. She is angry because he did not care enough to tell her what had been going on with him. That evening, they all go out for dinner and Ted explains to her everything that went on with him while he was away. He tells her that someone had given the cops his name in Utah, which led to his arrest. Ted says that he thinks he is being set up by someone. Ted also sees a black car has been following him since he got back. He even tells Liz that the car has been following him wherever he goes. He later goes to a library and is kicked out after a girl recognizes Ted from the newspaper, after which he spots the black car outside yet again. He says enough is enough and walks towards the car to confront whoever is in there, but they drive off right away. Before the kidnapping trial starts, Ted's lawyer O'Connell brings up the disappearance of the women at Lake Sammamish and how his name ended up on the suspect list. Liz is also there as the girl tries to prove that Ted is the one who kidnapped her. Ted's lawyer does a good job trying to prove her testimony is insensible. He proves that the police have given her too much information and that they have coached her in the best way possible to get Ted in trouble. When they are at a pet shop, Ted and Liz get a dog. There, they run into a girl named Carol who is one of Ted's acquaintances. The girl flirts with him in front of Liz, and she gets jealous. Carol then expresses that what Ted is being accused of is total bullshit and that she knows he has not done anything. After looking at some dogs, they return home and make love. They plan their future together that night. The next day, they are in court again for another court appearance. Ted is taken into custody, he is taken to the prison, forced to give up all the stuff he is carrying and change into the clothes worn by the prisoners. He calls Liz after catching a breath and tells her that everything is going to be fine and that they are going to be together soon. Liz is devastated by the verdict, but Ted assures her he will prove his innocence. Liz says that she wants to come to see him, but some detectives contact her and inform her that Ted is also under suspicion for crimes committed in Colorado. Liz is devastated to hear this, and she is extremely pissed. She tells the detective not to contact her again and hangs up right away. On the other hand, back in prison, Ted tries to study his case in order to be prepared for his next appearance in court. A detective then comes to him and asks him a few questions about his presence in Colorado. Ted is sick of this. He right away starts getting defensive, saying that he's never been to the city in his whole life. His lawyer then contacts him and says that the detective caught him lying. Ted has been to Colorado, and the detective has his gas slips as proof. While Liz wants to believe Ted is innocent, the stress of the case starts to take a toll on her and she begins to drink. Even O'Connell, his lawyer, also gives up on being Ted's lawyer as things get worse. He tells him that he is not licensed in Colorado, so he cannot do anything about it. Ted is then taken to a jail in Colorado. Liz's friend comes to see her and she tells her that she does not trust Ted. Liz gets offended and kicks her out of her apartment. The next day, Ted calls Liz and tells her that he is going to be the co-counsel of his own case. Ted has access to the phone, so he keeps calling Liz even when she is not really in the mood to talk. The more Ted starts to contact Liz, the more fed up she gets. In his next trial, he does not get bail, and the opposition also makes it clear that they are going for the death penalty. He contacts Liz to tell her about what happened, as he is really upset, but she hangs up on him. In Aspen, Colorado, Ted is soon on trial for the murder of Karen Campbell. He is held without bail while the death penalty is being sought against him. His new lawyer, Jim Dumas, thinks this is just circumstantial. Ted starts to plan an escape while reporters start to interview him while he is in prison. While being interviewed, he tries his best to gain public sympathy. During a trial recess, Ted spots an opportunity as the guard watching him starts flirting with a girl in the audience. Ted says that he needs to make a call to Liz, and while the officer keeps an eye on him, he pretends that he is on the phone and does not do anything suspicious. The officers think that he is not going to create any trouble, so he gets back to flirting with the woman. Ted uses it as a chance to jump out the window to escape. When he jumps, a woman sees him, but he runs out of there. He changes clothes in the street and walks off before authorities proceed to hunt him down. Liz hears news about this with Joanna, but she tells Liz that Ted will most likely not seek shelter with her. After nearly a week of wandering in the vast Colorado forest, Ted is then caught and captured once again. Liz goes to visit him just to tell him that she can't keep supporting him as his case only gets worse. She leaves him with a drawing that Molly made for him. The next day, when she goes into her office, she removes Ted's picture from her desk and puts the book Ted gave her when she first went to see him in prison. While she is on her break, one of her coworkers named Jerry starts flirting with her. Ted then writes her a letter and tells her that he can't live without her and goes on to start working on his next escape plan. He hangs the drawing given to him by Molly in his cell. Ted then gets a job in prison where he has to work around power tools. He brings some equipment into his cell when the other inmates are away, and he starts sawing the ceiling. He successfully manages to escape yet again, and Liz sees it on the news that her ex-boyfriend is out there again. He ends up in Florida 2 weeks later in January 1978, where he meets two sorority girls, both of whom are later murdered before other female students are reported to have been attacked in their sleep with a heavy wooden log. Ted is pulled over by a police officer, but Ted hits the cop and runs away before he is soon recaptured. Sheriff Ken Katsaris promises to make sure Ted is put away for a long time. He forcibly has pictures of his teeth taken as he has a chip in the front, which matches a bite mark on one of the victims. As the media draws attention to Ted's case, Ted again acts like the victim, and he tells the press that he is being very badly treated and that the sheriff just wants to put him away to secure his next election. Ted tries to call Liz so many times, but she does not answer the phone. He earns a number of female fans because of how handsome he is, which also leads them to think he is really innocent. Among them is an old friend of Ted's named Carol, the same woman he met at the animal shelter. Ted calls her, she comes to see him in jail, and she then moves to Florida to be closer to him. Liz, on the other hand, finally starts reading the book Ted had given her. Jerry goes to check on her, and she invites him to come inside. Carol goes to see him in prison, and Ted's lawyer also comes to see him. He tells him that his trial is going to be the first televised trial in history. His lawyer tells Ted that the state is offering him a deal wherein he would plead guilty to killing the sorority girls and get life sentences instead of the death penalty. Ted refuses to take it and asks the lawyer to get out of there as the court's offer just pissed him off. In 1979, the trial against Ted begins with Judge Edward T. Cowart overseeing the trial. Ted is apparently allowed to defend himself during the trial, attempting to sway public opinion toward him while denying the evidence against him. Though his behavior makes Dowd quit on him, he grows closer to Carol Ann, but she thinks he still loves Liz. Liz, meanwhile, confronts Jerry about unplugging the phone at night when Ted tries to call her. She tells him to get out of there, but he manages to calm her down, and Liz admits to Jerry that it was she who gave Ted's name to the police in Utah. During one trial hearing, Ted proposes to Carol, who accepts, and they are legally married in the courthouse. She later becomes pregnant with his child. The jury then makes their final verdict. Ted is found guilty of all charges. Cowart sentences him to death via the electric chair. Carol Ann, Liz, and Ted's mother are all gutted by the sentence. Ted firmly maintains his innocence. He tries to make one last appeal, but the judge denies it and he is taken back to prison. 10 years later, in 1989, Liz receives a final letter from Ted as he is set to be executed. She goes to visit him in prison to ask him to tell her the truth since she can no longer bear the pain of not knowing. Ted still insists that he didn't kill anybody until Liz pulls out a picture she received from Fisher of one of the victims, a woman who was found decapitated. Liz asks Ted what happens to her, and he writes on the glass between them, "Hacksaw." A flashback shows Ted luring the woman to his car with the fake cast before bludgeoning her with a crowbar and then taking her to the woods to dismember her. Liz leaves and quietly cries on her way out, thinking back to her time with Ted and realizing there were signs of his instability from the very beginning. She goes outside where she reunites with Jerry and a now teenage Molly, who tells her mom she is proud of her for finally getting her closure. At the end of the movie, we see that Ted was executed on January 24, 1989. He confessed to over 30 murders, but experts believe he killed many more. He had requested that his ashes be scattered in the Cascade Mountains, where he buried some of his victims. Liz and Molly Kendall still live in Washington State, and Liz has been sober for decades. Carol gives birth to a girl, and this is where the movie ends. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.